Welcome to Star Wars Action News, helping Star Wars collectors collect better.
Welcome to our Star Wars publishing panel. My name is Michael Seguin. I'm the creative director for Lucasfilm Publishing, and I've got the great honor and privilege to have a wonderful panel of authors and editors up here who are going to talk a little bit about some of the books that are coming out from Lucasfilm Publishing now and over the next couple months. I'm going to have them introduce themselves because they can do a better job of it than I can, and then we're going to go into some of the books and then some questions, and it'll be a fun hour. So, with that, if you would, Mr. Wang.
Hi, my name is Holman Wang, and I create the Star Wars board book series, Star Wars Epic Yarns, with my twin brother Jack, and I'm from Vancouver, Canada.
Hi, my name is Adam Bray. I write for DK Publishing. I'm one of 4 authors on Ultimate Star Wars, as well as the upcoming Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know. I also write the visual guides for Star Wars Rebels, and I kind of bounce around where I'm based. Currently, I'm in Michigan.
Hi, I'm Jen Heddle. I'm senior editor at Lucasfilm. Some of you know I used to handle adult novels and comics. Now I'm still doing the adult novels, but I've moved over into the kids space. So I'm doing kids fiction and teen, which we're moving into. And I am based at Lucasfilm in San Francisco.
Good morning, I'm Christy Golden. I've written 3 books in the Fate of the Jedi series, and my most recent novel is DarkDisciple, which is based on 8 episodes from the Clone Wars, and that is available here for sale at booth number 2913.
Hey guys, how are you? Everybody good? Round of applause for how good you are. That is way too quiet. Star Wars, come on people. Yeah. Let's do it.
We're sorry you're not in Hall H.
Yeah, I know, right?
So are we. So.
Can we go in there right now? We can all sneak in. My name is Chuck Wenig. I am an author of many books, including Blackbirds and Zeros and the upcoming Star Wars Aftermath.
So, I'm Frank Parisi, editor at Lucasfilm, professional nerd. I work with Marvel Comics on their Star Wars program.
And I'm C.B. Sobolski. I serve as the executive editor for the Star Wars books that come out from Marvel, and I'm from New York, New York.
All right, so now that introductions are over, let's talk about the actual books. And first up is Holman Wang to talk about the Epic Yarns books. And if you guys don't know what these are, it's pretty impressive. You know, I'll bet you can do a much better job explaining it than I can. And you have a PowerPoint too, I believe.
Yeah, I'm going to show a few PowerPoint slides, but what my brother and I do is we have abridged each of the 3 original Star Wars movies into board books, chunky board books that can't be destroyed by young children. And there's the plot is summarized in 12 words and 12 images, and that's it. And so, first of all, there's my brother and I, twin brother and I when we were kids. This is sort of like Star Wars meets Kung Fu, some kind of mashup going on. We make our figures that appear in the books through a process called needle felting, and that's where you take loose wool and you stab it again and again with a specialized barbed needle, and what you're doing is actually entangling the wool fibers, and we build the figures around an armature so that way we can pose and repose the figures, and then you see the figures is slowly being bulked up. But let me show you this quick video here. It gives you just a sense of the process. You're basically stabbing the loose wool again and again and again, and you can add on details here. I'm shaping the head, and then the nose is going, this is the chin, and then here comes the nose, the hair. This is not a Star Wars figure, but this gives you the idea. And
how long does the process take?
Each figure would take somewhere, the Star Wars figure is somewhere between 20 and 50 hours, just given the detail and the kind of the fact that the original text is visual, you have to make it look exactly like something that people already recognize. So, so let me move ahead. So this is the first figure that we created. It was, Lucasfilm wanted to see one figure, and we did this Luke Skywalker, an X-Wing outfit, shot these shots and sent them down, and then we got the gig. So then what we do is we build sets, or we take the figures on location to shoot, and then we create the images. So for example, here's the Blockade Runner hallway halfway done. Here is the full Blockade Runner hallway completed. It took me about 4 days to make this. It's foam core, felt foam sheets. There's lighting, mylar for the lighting panels up top. And then the figures get set in like this, and then ultimately you create a shot that looks like this, and the word is paired with the word trouble.
And just give a sense of scale on this.
Yeah, the scale is exactly 1 to 7. It's kind of an odd scale, but 1 to 6 was G.I. Joe scale, and it's a little bit too big. It just adds extra needle felting. And then anything smaller than 1 to 7, it's hard to do the fine details. So 1 to 7 is what we found. And so the figures are somewhere around 10 to 12 inches. Like Chewbacca and Darth Vader would be like closer to 12, and Princess Leia would be about 9, and Yoda's like 4. And so here's a couple of other images. Here's Captain. Here's the last shot from Star Wars Heroes. And so it's, they're word primers for very young children, but they're kind of ironic coffee table abridgments for adults. So it's kind of an all ages board book. And just one last thing I'll show you before we move on to the other panelists here. We did a lot of work to recreate the scenes. And so for the Dagobah set, you can't have Dagobah without the mist, right? So, and we don't do computer illustration except for the lightsabers and the Emperor's Force Lightning. Those are the 2 digital effects. So how are we going to do the Dagobah scenes? Dry ice. And so we put dry ice in a couple of baking dishes with warm water, and then the dry ice vapors roll out and they roll, they're heavier than air, so they're rolling low over the set, and we've created our own sort of working Dagobah set, and that's where we set in the figures, and we create an image like this. And the other one here with Yoda. And so the leaves are dried leaves that I collected and threw into a blender and scaled them down, so everything, is at the scale. So anyways, that's an introduction to Star Wars Epic Yarns, and again, there's one book for each of the 3 original movies. Awesome.
Thank you most kindly. A little technical difficulty, hang on. All right, so next up, Mr. Wait, pardon me. There we go. Adam, if you would like to say a word or two about Ultimate Star Wars.
Sure. As I mentioned, I'm one of the 4 authors on this, together with Tricia Barr and Ryder Wyndham and Dan Wallace. And Ultimate Star Wars just came out in April at Celebration Anaheim. And what it basically is a complete Star Wars encyclopedia that gives you a foundation of everything from Star Wars, from the 6 movies and the 2 animated series, the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and gives you a complete foundation moving forward with the Star Wars story to get you ready for the upcoming movies. And it's one of the many things that's unique about it is that it covers Star Wars in chronological order as you first meet the characters in The Phantom Menace and moving through the prequels and Clone Wars and Rebels and then on to the original trilogy. So it's not listed in alphabetical order. So basically, you can watch the films and the shows and follow along in the book. And then it's divided topically between the characters and creatures and the ships and technology and all the locations, the planets and cities, right down to Obi-Wan Kenobi's homestead. So it's exhaustive. I mean, it covers everything. We got down into the nitty-gritty. And it tackles information spread throughout the book in a variety of ways. We have lots and lots of timelines of how all this stuff works together. I think if you haven't watched the Clone Wars recently, it's easy to lose track of how much information came into the Star Wars universe through the Clone Wars with all 6 seasons. There's so much information to work with that gives you insight into the movies and even into Rebels. So this kind of sorts it all out for you. And
what was just to interrupt quickly, what was the research process like on something like this?
Sure, yeah. With 4 of us, we each had 2 months to work on the book, and it was pretty exhausting working on it. I mean, I'd get up early in the morning and roll out of bed and immediately get to work until it was time to go to bed every night without a day off. We all consulted everything. You know, I was constantly flipping through Blu-rays and DVDs, looking through old DK reference books, you know, anything that I could get a hold of, but just lots and lots of research. The writing, you know, I feel like for a reference book, if you're a fan of Star Wars and you've been consuming it your whole life, for me, I kind of feel like it writes itself. It's the research that is the bulk of the work for me. So a lot of work went into it. But I think it's a must-have. It's a beautiful book coming from DK. You know, it's pictorial. There's dozens of photos on every spread, and the team at DK and Lucasfilm worked really hard to make sure we got the absolute best photos. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes photos. Periodically, we stop and we look at, you know, how the shows and the movies were made. There's a couple of behind-the-scenes photos from the new movie that's coming up that are mixed in. So it's a real feast for the eyes. Photos were switched, you know, up until the last minute just before it went to the printer to make sure we had the best possible. So definitely pick it up. It's here for sale in Mysterious Galaxy.
Awesome, thank you. Jen, one of the things that we wanted you to touch upon was some of the fiction coming from Del Rey, particularly A New Dawn and Tarkin and Lords of the Sith. If you could just say a few words about those.
Sure. So, as many of you probably know, these are 3 novels that came out. These were the first 3 novels in the new canon, or however you want to call it, just the canon. Since they're already out, I'll just kind of give a really brief rundown for those of you who may not be familiar with them. A New Dawn takes place before the animated series Rebels, and it tells the story of how Kanan comes to meet Hera and join up with her. And it really shows you a journey that Kanan takes from being this, you know, kind of dissolute day laborer, doesn't care about anything kind of guy, to, you know, meeting Hera changes his perspective on the state of the galaxy. Really well done by John Jackson Miller, who worked very closely with Dave Filoni and the story group. It's an impressive feat. John wrote this book before really any animation had been done on the series, and yet he managed to completely nail the characters. It's a really, really great achievement on his part. Tarkin by James Luceno is kind of what you've come to expect from Jim, a really great character study of Tarkin, but also has a great, you know, action story to kind of propel things along. The real highlight of this novel is we get a peek into Tarkin's childhood, his backstory. He goes through this really interesting kind of rite of initiation on his home planet in a setting that you would never really think about seeing Peter Cushing in. It basically kind of shows you how he became the first Grand Moff. So it's kind of a seminal moment in Tarkin's life. And then Lords of the Sith is what I like to call our Vader Emperor road trip novel. It's like, you know, Bob Hope and Dean Martin with a lot more death. This is basically, it's about the planet Ryloth, which is, you know, the Twi'lek homeworld. And there's a rebellion being led by Cham Syndulla, who's Hera from Rebel's father. And the Emperor and Vader, their ship crash lands on Ryloth, and they need to like fight their way through the jungle and fight like crazy native creatures and go up against you know, these rebels from Ryloth, and it's kind of just like a swath of destruction across Ryloth. So if you really just want to read a story about Vader and the Emperor basically kicking ass, but also with some really strong characters from the rebellion side, then this is a great read.
Awesome. Thank you. Christy, you're up next, and DarkDisciple, for those of you who don't know, was released on Tuesday of this week, so it is available everywhere. We're all very proud of this one. If you want to just talk a little bit about the story and your process with it.
Sure, thank you. First of all, I still can't get over that cover. It's just an amazing, amazing cover. Really, really beautifully done, beautifully done. DarkDisciple was an adaptation of 8 unaired episodes from the Clone Wars. And it really was a project that intrigued me because it seemed to really fit with the sort of things that I really enjoy delving into in writing, which is intimate character studies, a lot of action, a lot of development, the whole gray area between the dark side and the light, which has not really gotten explored that much in Star Wars. So that was kind of a first to delve into those waters. And a lot of the big questions of, how does a good person go down a dark path? And what is too dark? Where does the end justify the means, and where does it not? So there were a lot of the bigger questions, as well as following the characters. I'd like to second the notion that there is a lot in the Clone Wars. I settled down and I sat down and I watched all of the episodes, many of them more than once. And it's a fantastic show. Really, really enjoyed that. So drew a lot from where the characters were. The scripts were excellent. It was a joy to adapt them. And in a novel, you get to do things that you can't do on a television show. You can get inside the point of view of a character. You can take your time and flesh out some certain things. There was a lot of good back and forth with Jen and Story Group about the fact that Asajj Ventress was such a well-loved character, and a lot of people were very interested in seeing her story continue. And we all wanted her to be treated with the respect that such a pivotal character in the show deserves. So it was a lot of fun. It had its challenges, but I certainly enjoyed it, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you stop by the booth during one of my signings. So thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity. This was a lot of fun, and hope you like it.
Next up is Chuck, and just before we get to you, I wanted to just briefly mention Chuck's book is part of the Journey to Star Wars: The Force Awakens program. And I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's a whole program that we're doing across all of our publishers beginning on September 4th, where we build excitement and speculation about The Force Awakens, and we tell new stories set between 4 and 5, or 5 and 6, or possibly immediately following 6, that reminds everyone why these characters are so cool, and really reinforces, why we love them and have loved them for almost 40 years. So that's just a little snippet about the Journey 2 program. We'll get to that a little bit more later, but Chuck, if you would talk a little bit about Aftermath. With what you can say.
And what I can say. If I say too much, a red lightsaber blade will appear over my shoulders and move quickly that way, and my head will roll off into the crowd. Yeah, Aftermath is set after Return of the Jedi. I think they did give a small snippet, the blurb, the back of the book blurb. So the most I can really tell you is that it features Wedge Antilles getting into a spot of trouble with a secret Imperial meeting, and the book follows both him and then the group of ragtag rebels, rogues, and weirdos who go to rescue him and then intercept the meeting. And I think one thing I can say, no, I can't say anything.
You can't say that.
If I can't say it, the lightsaber, just keep an eye, look for it. You'll hear the sound and then my head. It will not just be one book, but it will be 3 books, and I'm writing all 3 of those books. So it's a trilogy, and I am writing it.
Woohoo! And then Frank and CB, I was wondering if you guys could even tag team a little bit on all of the comics that are coming out of Marvel and what's going on with them at the moment.
So yeah, you know, the Star Wars comics came back to Marvel early this year. We started publishing in January. It's been an enormous success for us. We could not be happier. You're all reading? Yeah? All right. Any favorites so far? Vader, Leia, Kanan. Okay, all over. You guys are reading them all. I love it. Thank you. But, you know, as most of you know, the books, the majority of the books, except for Kanan, take place between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, right after the destruction of the Death Star. Star Wars by Jason Aaron and John Cassaday, now coming on, Stuart Immonen will be drawing those. And Vader by Kieran Gillen and Salvador LaRocca. Leia just wrapped up, and now to this past Wednesday, Lando went on sale by Charles Soule and Alex Believe. Anyone read it yet? Yeah? All right. So yeah, the books have been, you know, doing really well. We're really happy with the creative team, teams on all of them. And there is a lot more coming. And before we get into, we do have one announcement for the panel. Do you want to talk a little bit about anything?
You could talk about this.
All right. So, Chewbacca, he's going to get his day. You know, we're going to be doing a series by him. It's going to be written by Jerry Duggan and drawn by Phil Noto. Jerry's known for his work on Deadpool and Uncanny Avengers. Phil's been doing Black Widow at Marvel. They actually worked together years ago on a book called Infinite Horizon at Image. They became great friends. They've always wanted to work together. And, you know, when Jerry brought this idea to us, you know, Phil seemed kind of like the natural guy to draw it. And it's set in the same time period, but Han and Chewie are going to get separated, and Chewie kind of goes off on his own on a solo adventure, let's say. And it's a little bit of, I would say, in the Star Wars meets Lone Wolf and Cub meets The Professional. You know, there's a girl there that you're going to see that Chewie's going to take under his wing called Caro. And for once, he's not going to be the sidekick. He's going to have one on his next to him. So you want to?
Yeah. The one thing that's been really cool about working on the Marvel books is, and I think the Chewbacca book is a case study in this, is that, you know, the writers have been really, you know, you work on this material for so long, and when you have these writers come along that really sort of subvert your expectations of these characters. So for example, if you think of like the man with no name idea, I think the, you know, de facto response would be, oh, that's, you know, tailor-made for a Jedi character. Well, they did it with Chewbacca, and it's really, really cool. The Darth Vader series is more of a sort of political black comedy. Even the Lando series, it's very fun, high adventure, hilarious, but there's also really creepy moments and a lot of really good emotional beats as well. So I think that's, you know, it's the one thing that Marvel's really been bringing to the table. It's, and, you know, again, having read a lot of this stuff, whenever you see people looking at all this material that you're so intimately familiar with through a lens which you would have never imagined looking at it through, it's just pretty humbling in terms of the human imagination. And so these books are really, they're just an absolute blast to work with.
One other thing, editor Jordan D. White wanted me to add that Chewbacca is a Wookiee of not many words. And the book is going to have a very interesting visual language, so to speak. You know, he's not a character who can go out there and say what's on his mind. We're not going to put narrative captions in so you're going to be able to translate what Chewbacca is saying. So there is going to be a very interesting visual language that Phil, who's an amazing storyteller, is going to have to do to get the emotions and the kind of the gist of the story across through his artwork, rather than through relying on word balloons and captions.
Thanks for watching this video. You can see full episodes of Star Wars Action News with more collecting news and reviews at swactionnews.com. We also have thousands of toy and collectible photos in our photo gallery. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. May the pegs be stocked and the Force be with you.